a sense of community when you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. Well, I'm so pleased to have with me here today from Abbotsford is Derek Silver.
Hey, thank
Welcome.
you.
Now, Derek builds canoes, right?
Yes. Yeah, so I build canoes. It's mainly everything for my life is just all about canoe racing. So, and
okay.
yeah, so I run my own canoe club, and then so I build my own canoes, and I build the canoes for our own canoe club. And then we spend almost every day in the spring and summer racing.
Right.
And then we travel every single weekend and go into different canoe races.
So how did you learn to build canoes?
That was just always a dream of mine. Ever since I started canoe pulling, I wanted to build my own canoes.
Mm-hmm.
And my first one, before back like 10, 15 years ago, that everybody used dugout canoes.
Okay.
And that was just like you get a whole tree and then you hollow it out and then you make a canoe like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was my first attempt. And I went into the forest, and then I found I cut down my own tree.
Cool.
And I was using my chainsaw and I was trying to hollow it out, and I did a horrible job. And it's now my mom's garden. There's a big hole about 4 feet long, and there's no way you could get it to float. And then I kept trying to hollow it out for me to be able to bring it home.
Right.
And then so that was my first attempt trying to build canoes. And then when we started up our own club, or our reserve, we started up our own club, and then the reserve ended up paying the guy that built our canoes for us.
Okay.
Yeah, they paid him to teach me. So I went down to the States, and the man that built all of our big canoes for us, like that started off building our canoes.
Yeah.
He taught me how to make them, and so I went to his house every day, and I was making canoes with him, and then it turned into that I'm starting to make my own canoes. And then other canoe clubs started asking me to build their canoes too. And yeah, it all just took right off.
So you mentioned a reserve. What's your reserve?
Yeah, so I'm from Sumas First Nation.
Okay.
There's two in Abbotsford. That's just one. There's Matsqui and so yeah, I'm from Sumas First Nation.
Cool. So now, when you start building a canoe, how long does it take from the beginning to the whole process to the end? Yeah.
So now I build strip canoes. So it's kind of like I buy like 2x4s, and then I cut it, and it depends how big of a canoe I'm building. If I'm building like a one for just one person, I only make it about 3/8 of an inch. And so I just cut a whole bunch of strips out of that, and altogether it usually takes me about a week and a half to build a single canoe, or like a canoe for one single person.
Right. Okay. Because I imagine there's gluing involved.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's like if I have, so a week and a half if I have to make, or if I have my own form already made, because and so then it's like a form is just basically a thing that I glue everything on.
Yeah.
And I put tape on it so the canoe doesn't stick to the form, and so I put one cedar strip of wood on, and I screw that on, and then I put glue all the way across the whole thing, and then I just put the next one on. But I go from each. I don't do one whole side, and then I do one piece on one side, and then I go to the other side, and then it just works my way up all right to the top of the middle.
Oh, okay. Now, is cedar the best wood to work with?
I think that's mainly we use that for we keep the traditional use, and so we're still using cedar.
Right. Okay.
And yeah, mainly everybody usually likes using red cedar.
Yeah.
But yeah, the last year I've been using yellow cedar, and I've been cutting it even thinner, trying to keep half the weight and trying to keep the strength too.
So what's the difference between a red and a yellow cedar?
The easiest thing to look at is see the difference is the brightness.
Okay.
But yellow cedar is stronger, but it's heavy. It's a lot heavier too. So that's why I try to cut it thinner. So it's like, yeah, I'll end up cutting it to about half the thickness.
Right. So at this point, how many canoes do you think you've made so far?
In the last year, I've probably built about 12 canoes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, I don't know if the audience, I think they can see this.
Yeah.
You can see that the paddles you brought with us. So just talk about the paddles.
Okay. So these paddles, they're these are all like modern day paddles.
Okay.
Before they use them, and you could see like almost every single one of them are all fiberglass, except this is our first one.
Yeah.
And that one was so me and our club, we just basically started off from scratch, and yeah, so these are the ones that we were able to afford, and it was like, what I would say for this paddle is it's the bottom level of the good paddles to use.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we got all of these ones, and then so and my club that we run, or that it's mainly all a kids club, and so it helps keep kids off, like it keeps them doing good in life, and it keeps them away from wandering off or doing alcohol or anything like that.
Sure.
And so our reserve will they'll find money and spend money, or they get lots of grants for us to travel. But one of them was they got enough money for us to get these Kealoas, which end up almost after taxes of about $500 each. But they got us enough for every single one of the kids in my club, so we all have one of these ones. And then this one is I've only got to use this one once. And this is the Rockall Cree logo. They're, in my opinion, they're the best club.
Yeah.
Nobody's faster than them, and they're not arrogant about it or anything. And yeah, I really like them. And they make their own they get their own custom paddles made, and then they sell them to other clubs.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they were completely out of all their paddles. They sold all the ones that they were going to sell for that year.
Wow.
And all the kids in my club, they're 16 and under.
I was going to ask the ages. Yeah.
Yeah, so mainly, or the age groups is like 10 and under, 16 and under, and then it will go to male and female races, and it's all different sizes of canoes racing too. But my club, it's mainly 16 and under.
Mm-hmm.
But the kids from my club saved up, all of them together, they saved up. And so this is 16-year-old kids, or 12 to 16 years old. And all of them saved up, and they bought me this paddle, and it was $600.
What a great thing for them to do.
Yeah.
Right?
And they were this club, they were completely out of the paddles. They didn't have any more to sell. And they were like, but we really, really want one of their paddles for me.
Yeah.
And so the skipper of their canoe club, the skipper's like the person that they almost control everything, how you train, how you eat, and the purpose of them on the canoes just to keep the canoe going on course and make sure the canoe doesn't tip or anything like that. And they tell them when to switch or when to pull harder or everything. But he gave up his own paddle, and he sold his own paddle to me, or to the kids for them to give to me. Yeah.
How many kids do you have in your club?
Right now for our 16 and under, we have 11 or 10, and then the biggest canoe that we have is an 11-man. And that's 11, including me.
Right.
And so the skipper for most races, they could be any age, male or female. And so, yeah, so I could race in the 16 unders, and now I controlled our canoes.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that's
pretty cool.
Yeah, so we have 10, or there's 9 kids. And so when we race the 11-man, if we race our own canoe, we end up having to find one extra kid to come and jump on with us,
right? Which
usually isn't a problem for me. Usually there's kids along the beach that aren't on a canoe already, and so they'll be ready and they'll be waiting. Or my kids, they all have friends and they all know all the kids, and I don't necessarily know any of the kids from the other clubs. And so they'll all know which one they want to get, and then they'll get that one to come in. They'll come and race with us.
So now you mentioned the races. How often are the races?
Yeah, so we typically for us to start training, we start around the middle of March, and it's real cold, and especially when we train in Cultus Lake, and the water's freezing.
Yeah.
And so we'll start training in the middle of March, and then this year coming up, our first race will be May 11th, or the first weekend in May. And they go every single weekend all the way till the end of summer, for Labor Day weekend.
Right. Wow. Now, is there a prize for the races, or is it just the pride of?
Mainly it's the pride of being the champions.
Mm-hmm.
And there is prizes. It doesn't end up, if you win like every single race, you might be able to have your weekend covered where you didn't go in the negative to go to the races.
Okay.
But that's where a lot of our sponsors, or like we get government grants, or we get grants to help us with travel.
Yeah, I just wondering, because you have to take your canoes, right? So how do you transport a canoe from, let's say, Abbotsford, wherever you are? Maybe do you go to other provinces?
No, mainly we will go to the United States and we'll race in Washington and stuff.
Okay.
But it's my truck. We have so our canoes could be we have one canoe that's 50 feet long and another one that's 40 feet long.
Right.
And those ones we'll travel on my truck.
Okay.
And so we have it's special canoe racks that are made. And that's another thing that our reserve bought for me. I didn't have to get my own money, and they have to be they're custom made for my truck. And it was a funny thing because I got a grant, or I don't know, I never got a grant. I got a loan. Yeah. And I knew I wanted to wanted to buy a Harley or I wanted to buy a truck. But then we needed a truck to haul the canoes. So I bought the truck, but even before I bought the truck, I told our youth worker that I got a loan to be able to get a truck, and I didn't even choose the truck out yet. And then they're like, okay, we'll buy you canoe racks. And so I got on the waiting list to get custom racks before I even got my truck. But yeah, we got custom racks for my truck. And so we put a 50-foot and a 40-foot canoe on my truck, and I'll travel the big canoes.
Wow. I can understand how wonderful it is for your reserve, for all that involvement, like not just you and the children, right? But the elders or whoever it is, right? Because it's such a good thing for everybody, a win-win, I guess you could say, right?
Yeah, one of the elders I don't know, this is kind of bragging a bit too much, but one of the elders, he said that this was the best thing for our people. Yeah. And because it keeps our kids completely clean and sober. And
that's not bragging.
Yeah.
I think that is just a wonderful, wonderful thing to be doing. Yeah. Because anytime you're helping, keeping the kids, like you said, keeping them clean, keep them doing something productive and something they enjoy, then it's a wonderful thing to be talking about. Yeah. I mean, you could be going to schools and say, hey, or other reserves even, I don't know if you do that, but that's something that if other reserves are struggling with their youth, because I know there's not just one reserve, like everywhere, right? Kids can just so easy to go the wrong route. Yeah. So that's really, really good. Yeah. While you're here, I just want to talk about what you're wearing, if you don't mind, because it's just beautiful.
Okay, so this that you see, it's this is I beaded this all myself.
You did that?
Yeah. And so it's like I like to say I could do or for indigenous stuff, I could do anything. I could bead, I could carve, and I could cut down trees. So it's like I could do the real manly stuff to the real fine detail.
Good for you.
And stuff like that. But this is our canoe's logo, our canoe club. It's the Smith Warriors, and yeah, so it's when we decided what we wanted for our club, I knew like we wanted a skull with the paddles going through it, and then it kind of like we basically said every single thing we want, and it never gave the artist that much to be able to explore and do their own thing. Right. But he did, and then you could see the canoes and the canoes that are coming up out of there and everything. And in our logo, we actually have the Smith Warriors Canoe Club. Okay. So it says our name right around it. Right. And then I always wanted a bracelet. And so, and I like doing the Nike symbol on all my beadwork.
That is such tiny little work. Yeah. I mean, it must take a lot of patience to do those.
Yeah, I think this little bracelet took me about 2 days to bead by myself.
So did someone teach you? Or did you teach yourself?
This is something I have learned myself. Really? Yeah, and so at the beginning, my work wasn't that nice. And I only knew what was called lazy stitch. I only knew how to do lazy stitch, and I also do powwow dancing. So I made my whole entire powwow outfit. And so that was a time where I got injured and I couldn't walk. And so, and back then that was when I was a teacher too, but the school wouldn't let me go back to the school unless if I could walk. Okay. And so I sat at home all day, every single day, and without anything to do, and I just sat there. I'd wake up at 8 in the morning and I'd bead all day till 2 in the morning. Wow. And in that winter I beaded my whole entire my regalia for my powwow outfit. Wow.
I've done a couple of powwows, not that many yet. I'm just getting into learning more about First Nations people, but some of the regalia is just absolutely beautiful. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So that's really cool. Let's talk about more about the First Nation stuff, because I'm always so fascinated to learn more, you know? So how many people, like when you go to a powwow and there's all those people dancing and that, do they just decide that they're going to do it? Are they invited to do it? How does that work?
Most people they're probably born into it.
Oh,
okay.
Like
their parents have done it, and then so they pass it down to their children. They keep going on and on. But for me, I remember my very first powwow, going to a powwow, and at this point I was a champion canoe puller.
Right.
And I was thinking this was a waste. Like, I shouldn't be going to this because I'm supposed to be out on the water. Why should I go to spectate something when I'm a champion in something else?
Right.
And then I was told I have to start dancing. And I got taken to a powwow, and I got to watch every category. And there was this one man, for this category, he was an older man, and he was like my age now. I think he was like 37, and so I'm 34. I usually say I'm 28, but he was 37 back then.
Yeah.
And so I danced a men's fancy, and so that's the ones with the two bustles, and it's the fastest songs.
Right.
And he wore a cowboy hat. He looked so cool. And yeah, so then when I watched him dance, and I knew that was exactly what I wanted to do. But there was nobody that danced on my reserve. There was not one single powwow dancer. And so there was nobody for me to really talk to or anything. And so I watched YouTube and figured out, like, I found out who my favorite dancers were. And I called, and one of them ended up calling me, and I talked to him, and we went all the way out to Montana to go meet him. He said that he was going to be at a powwow in Montana. We went there, and he wasn't there.
Oh my gosh.
But that's how, like, that was how I started becoming a powwow dancer. And then the meeting people and talking and asking them how big to make things, because I didn't know. I've seen people, like, I'd watched the videos of what they needed for powwow dancing. But then I did my first outfit. There were some pieces that were way too big, and then there was others that were way too small. And so then slowly I learned how big to make everything, and I'd replace one piece at a time. Until we don't have a picture of my outfit right now.
That's too bad, yeah. But I wasn't expecting that to come up at all.
Yeah.
So this is really exciting. I just think that, like that, I know it's probably hard for you to brag about yourself, but you sound like you have a lot of different talents, which I think is wonderful, that you're exploring all of your talents, right?
Yeah, so basically for me, what I say is like, I'll be whatever my people need me to be.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
To what I need to do, or for my people to be better for my people, I'll become whatever I need to do.
Very good. Now, since you became a powwow dancer on your reserve, are there others now?
There's only my children right now.
Okay.
And then there are some that kind of go to them a little bit. And recently, this one isn't due to me being a dancer, but there's now one other girl that's a powwow dancer. Okay. And so this summer was her first summer, but she never really grew up on her reserve. I know who she is. She might not know who I am. Right. But so there's more than just me now. Yeah. And then we also, the school, Abbotsford School District, the people from the school district, they end up wanting to host their own powwow. But then due to human resources rules or something, they weren't allowed to host their own powwow. So then it's the workers, they separated from the school district, and then they start hosting it on our reserve. Okay. So we have a powwow that's hosted on our reserve. It's not like our reserve isn't the ones that host it, but it's hosted on our reserve. Oh, okay. And so and it's during the canoe season too. Right. But so that weekend, my whole club, we all go to the powwow instead of the races that weekend. And so we all go to the powwow, and it ends up just being a great thing that we have so much fun doing. Yeah, that sounds really, really good, actually. I think it's all interesting. Now, mention again the name of your canoe club. Yeah, so we're the Smath Warriors Canoe Club. In Abbotsford? Yeah. Right. And so we got that name from the soccer club or the football club on our reserve. And so before I started canoe pulling, I was a soccer player. And so I was I don't play anymore. I don't play anymore, but I was the goalie for our club. Okay. And then and so as soon as I started the club, or as soon as we started the club, it wasn't like I started it. It was all the children on our reserve. And I was pulling in the States. And so I got on my Ultimate Dream Canoe Club. And they were the ones that I said were the fastest.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I wanted to be the best champion canoe puller.
Right.
So my thoughts were, if I join them, I'll be the best. It's not really I'm the best. It's just I pull. I'm on with the best.
With the
and
best
so
team, yeah.
yeah, so it's not actually making me the champion.
No, but it's helping you be a champion,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and it was all. I remember my very first practice, and he right after the practice he pulled me aside, and he's like, "You got to learn our form," and they have a whole different form, and they're pretty secretive about their form too. Okay. And yeah, so he's the skipper. He studied for hours and hours on how to make the perfect form, how to have a perfect reach and everything, and how to position your body on the canoe, and every little detail.
Right.
And he got everything right down, and then he was trying to teach me, and then the kids on our reserve they all wanted to start canoe pulling.
Right.
And then the youth worker came up and she told me that they want to do it. So it's like, okay, if we could get canoes, I'll come back. And it was basically, I lived in the States back then.
Oh, okay.
And so it's not that far. It was like the next reserve over. So it's only about 20-30 minutes away from my house. But I was like, I'll come back up and I'll be the skipper for our canoe club. And there was a reserve in Cham, like Rosedale.
Yeah.
They didn't have a canoe club, but they had the canoes. So they for our first year, they let us use their canoes. And so I came up and started our club.
Right. Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah, I don't think that answered the question you had, but
I don't remember what the question was. I'm so interested in what you have to say though, because it's really, I just really find it all interesting and wonderful, you know. I love that when people are doing something positive and something they enjoy and something that has a ripple effect to help other people.
Yeah.
It's also cool.
Yeah, but I remember the question. Yeah. So it was how do we get about our name and everything.
Yeah.
And so when we started our own club, I knew we wanted to be the Smith Warriors. But that's already the soccer club.
Oh.
And so I went and I asked he's basically like the coach of the club, the soccer club. He still kind of plays, but he's basically retired, and just go watch the games, and the younger people have taken over, but he's still the one that runs the club.
Right.
And I asked him if we could use that name, but be the Smith Warriors Canoe Club. And he already knew exactly what I was there for when I went to his house to go ask him. And he said that we have to keep it like our own people.
Okay.
And he doesn't want people that aren't Kilgard. So the reserve I'm from is called Sumas, but its nickname is Kilgard.
Oh, okay.
And that's basically what everybody only knows it as. And he said that he doesn't want people that aren't Kilgard to be able to say they're warriors.
Right.
So then that ended up making it really hard for us to try to start our own club, because we can't pull people from other places and bring them into our club. We have because we almost everybody from our club is able to trace their ancestry to our reserve. But that's people, they're still from other reserves, but they trace their blood back to the same reserve. And then so almost every single one of them could do that. But it's such tight-knit community all around the Fraser Valley that we could trace our blood to every single reserve still already.
Right.
And so there's only one girl that can't trace her blood back to our reserve, but she's one of our friends. Like, she was the friends of and my club is mainly all girls.
Okay.
And so she's a friend with all of the girls already, and it's like we can't say no to her. when they told me about her, when they said that she was going to come to race with or come train with us, they said she never trained in 5 years, and she was only 15. So last time she trained, she was 10.
Wow.
And so I was thinking she wasn't going to be that good or anything, and I was really going to have to train her and everything. And the first practice, it was like she got I have like our own training to help to make sure their bodies can do exactly bend how we want them to and everything.
Yeah. And
she got it down instantly, and it was like all of a sudden now she's one of our top pullers, and she's on our top crew.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so awesome. Well, we're going to run out of time, but just bear with me for just a second. I'm going to tell the audience you've been listening to Derek Silver. He's on Facebook if anybody wants to get a hold of you and find out more about what you do, or maybe they need information on how to build a club, or how how to build a canoe or how to start a club or whatever, right?
Yeah, so lots of people do message me asking me to teach them how to build canoes, or if they could come watch me. I get visitors nonstop all day, every single day, watching me build canoes.
Wouldn't have to do an interview where I'm there watching you build a canoe, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. Thank you all for watching. And listen, if you like my interviews, would you please like and subscribe, because that brings my numbers up, and then I can get famous people like Derek here. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care and peace out.